Hi, Jeremy the Tall Trainer here. I'm going to talk pretty fast because I don't like long presentations. So, get and stay healthy as we age. Who can feel their age some days, right? We all can feel our age. You go, I feel old, feel old. All right. But what does age feel like? Both of these women are 80 years old. All right. Ridiculous. I mean, the one on the left, I mean, crazy. And the one on the right, I mean, like, I guess pretty standard for 80. You go, okay, that's kind of normal-ish, you know? And so look at this. There's obviously some genetic differences, that are in there, but honestly, we give genetics too much power. That's only about 10 to 15% of what's happened here. A lot of it, most of it is just training. Is life has happened to different people different ways, but also what they've invested in, has played out in different ways too. And I believe the person on the right has just as much chance, even right now, of becoming, a muscle strong, awesome, capable, feeling person. It's still possible to change some of that to feel, some of those benefits. So it's possible at 80, it's possible at 70, it's possible at 60, possible at 50, possible at 40. We can make these changes at any age there. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the keys to get healthy and stay healthy. So step one is going to be reverse aging. So what do we need to do to age backwards just a little bit to get ourselves in a better spot? All right, so this is weight loss, strength, flexibility, stamina. We're going to talk about those, and I've got 6 studies I'm gonna share with you, and a couple case studies, including that one a beautiful, strong athlete, we just saw. All right, step two is going to be stay young. I'm not going to spend much time on that. That's kind of the next step, but I'll talk a little bit about it at the end. All right, so one piece, easing pain. All right, so when you're feeling old, you go, oh, I feel old today. Some of that's pain related. All right, so there's mobility factor, but there's also inflammation. So part of that's stretching, releasing, strengthening, all those kind of things go into making ourselves move better. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, later on here too. And then there's easing pain. So there's inflammation, there's waters, there's foods to eat, foods to avoid, working with stress. But in both categories, weight loss shows up. It affects mobility. It also affects inflammation. All right, so here's a cheese grater, right? So this is probably one of my best analogies, best ways to think about, weight, and especially our joints and how our body feels. And so when we have extra weight on our body, it's extra pressure on the joints there. Right, so there's more mashing pressure, in those joints there. And so also being tighter is also more mashing pressure because if there's tightness around that joint, it's packing that joint harder than normal. And in this inside that joint, there's the cartilage. The cartilage is the cheese. Now, if you got the cheese on the cheese grater, but you don't push very hard, you don't go through the cheese very much. But if you bear down really hard and push on it, you burn through the cheese really fast. And so if we're really tight and we have extra weight on our body, we really burn up that cartilage really, really quickly. And it can be very problematic. Lots of pain, lots of issues come from that. So weight is definitely a factor in there. I had the joy of sitting on a plane with a lady. She was from Germany, visiting somebody from up here, and we were talking fitness because obviously I'm a fitness guy, and she was saying she went on a hike, and her knees were hurting, and she went to the doctor. The doctor said you can wear a 30-pound pack or the 30 pounds you have on your body, but not both. All right. That hit her pretty good, and she lost 30 pounds. She went for a hike again. The knees did not bother her. All right. And there is a factor with this extra weight. All right. It doesn't have to be hundreds of pounds. 30 pounds, is enough to change how our body feels a lot of times. All right. So here's some 7 big nutrition targets. I want to give you practical things. These are some of the tips that we use with our clients. Number one, 0.64 to zero point 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So a 150-pound person should have, almost 100 grams of protein or maybe a little bit more. All right. Eat every 3 to 4 hours. This is so you don't go too far between meals and get hungry. All right. If you go too far between meals, your blood sugar drops, then all you want is carbs. And so if you end up carbing up, then it's not your fault. It's really just you didn't plan well enough. You need a snack every 3 to 4 hours to try to keep that energy bolstered through, particularly if it has protein in it. Extra advantage there. Eating some fat still, about 10 grams per meal, helps that meal sit well, more satisfied. You're looking for the next meal less when you have a little bit of fat in that meal. Not too much because your calories go crazy, but some in that meal. Don't cut too much out. A pound of raw, pound of cooked veggies. You go, whoa, that's huge. It is huge. We were designed for it though. So it's something to work towards. If you're not accustomed to having vegetables, you should start with 1 piece of broccoli, not 1 pound of broccoli. All right. So, so start small and build on that. All right. But if you were to eat your protein and eat 2 pounds of vegetable, I dare you to try to eat a cheesecake afterwards. There's just not going to be any room. It's like it won't even sound good to do. You'd be like, I'm full. I'm full. I don't. And that's kind of the idea. You're full, and so that's a huge help with that. But also, if we're going to talk about, dropping inflammation, we're talking about feeling younger, nutrients, vitamins, all that stuff. Definitely vegetables are one of the biggest components of that. When they look at, decreasing whether cancer returns for somebody, how much vegetables they've eaten, is a factor in there. It does decrease risk. All right, so I'm sold on it. All right, half your body weight in ounce of water. Having enough water, really huge. Our body operates in a water system. So the more water you have, the better, in that. So 150-pound person, about 75 ounces of water is what you're looking for. 7.5 hours of sleep, or 6 or 9, because of 90-minute sleep cycles. All right, so getting a good chunk of sleep, 7.5 hours, tends to be the best for most people. All right, but some people can do 6, some people can do 9. Some people do 6, they say, I can do 6. Sometimes they still need to have more. But if you get enough sleep, you're not running off and trying to survive the day. You're actually feeling a little bit more better. You don't have the anxiety stuff as much. You don't have the pressure. And you also don't have the hunger, or you start looking for carbs more. All right, and then 1 high carb day per week. You're going to see this a lot in the way you're advertised too. In the new year and any other time really. Is that's high carb day. You'll hear somebody say, like, eat whatever you want and still lose weight, or you're probably eating too little. Your body's a starvation zone. You got to eat more in order to lose weight. And you go, that one's really confusing. All right, but they're using this tactic. They're referring to this tactic, but in a salesy kind of way. So 1 high carb day per week. What that does is it raises our leptin levels. The higher our leptin levels are, the more our body says, you got plenty of fat. It's okay if you drop some. So you go, okay, cool. I want that. So by having a high carb day, we get that signal. But if we have high carb days every day, we actually gain the fat. All right. So you have low carb days. You need low carbohydrate days, lots of protein, lots of vegetables, lower on the carbohydrates, and then you cycle in with higher carbohydrates. On that day, that's where you eat some of the stuff that you really like eating. That's pizza day. That's the extra treat and things like that. You can fit it into a regular day, a bit, but that's the day where you can have a little bit extra. You go, oh, okay, here's fun. All right. And so I think food should be, it's possible to enjoy eating, and be successful. All right, this guy right here, Charles Euster. All right, he wrote a book, Age is Just a Number. I saw him when he did a TED Talk. All right, so here's another example here. This is Charles Euster. He's flexing right there. How old do you think he is? And you go, he's like 60, 65 maybe. He's like almost 90 in that picture flexing. Almost 90 years old right there. Look at that. Look at this guy. He's amazing. Right? It's crazy good. And so, some of his tips is retire, don't retire, stay busy. You can retire from your job if it's a job, you don't like it, but if it's find a passion still. All right. He said, exercise and challenge yourself, sign up for things, that challenge you, eat good food. And he said, protein was big. All right. And so this is just how it's done. Those 7 points back there they're not like, I guess these will be good. If I go back on, these are not like, maybe these will be helpful. These are really hugely helpful. Number 1 and number 7, really big tactics. Number 2 through 6, about not being so hungry. So if you feel like you have a compulsive eating disorder or something like that, you're overeating, binge eater, it might be that you're missing options 2 through 6. And if you get those running in place a little bit more often, you won't have that quite so much. But if you at least nail 1 and 7, you'll start feeling pretty good. You'll start feeling, okay, I'm nailing this. I'm making progress. I'm doing what the fabulous girl with the kettlebell and this guy, said, the 80-year-old and then just about 90-year-old here. All right, you can build muscle at any age, and it's exciting. It's honestly very exciting. All right, so we're going to talk about resistance training and longevity. Here's some of the studies I'm going to quote. I'm going to go real fast though. They had a group of males and females, average age 68 years. Then they had 24 years was the other group. They did resistance training 2 days a week, basic exercise. So that's what this slide says. Basic exercises, trained this way, and they built up. They went harder and harder as they went. They did 100 muscle biopsies, which, it's kind of a vigorous kind of thing. It's like they stuck a thing in the muscle and took out a piece of the muscle, and they analyzed what was going on. They did an RNA analysis. So that's what transcribes DNA and tells the cell how to function. What they found was 179 genes related to age and exercise had a reversal of gene expression. They were functioning better. It changed the way their DNA was read during this resistance training. 6 months, twice a week resistance training. The gene expressions of the resistance-trained older subject was similar to the younger group. All right. The study author says, we were very surprised by the results of the study. The fact that their genetic fingerprints so dramatically reverse course gives credence to the value of exercise, not only as a means of improving health, but reversing the aging process itself, which is an additional incentive to exercise as you get older. All right. So, whatever age you're at, I mean, you can really dial back the clock. I mean, we're talking about the muscles got younger 179 different ways. Sometimes we call this putting on your 179 genes. All right, so you got to do that resistance training. Huge, changes the body in a genetic kind of way. All right, we'll talk a little bit about passive income. People like passive income, so we're going to talk about the body like that. So stock market, rental properties, royalties, some of this multi-level marketing thing. It's all about getting passive income, not having to work so hard to get the income you got. Well, now, muscle is the passive income stream of the body. It burns calories at rest. All right, so while you're resting, it burns more calories. And when you're exercising, it burns more calories. It creates more capacity for you, more energy. You're able to move and do more. And so you move and do more. And so now your calorie burn increases because you feel like doing it, but it also increases more just sitting around because this extra muscle costs. All right, so this is like the passive income as far as calorie burn goes. Building muscle is so huge for that. All right, so those two bodies, that Charles Euster, that other lady, those were not cardio bodies. Those are resistance training bodies. That's how they got there. All right, metabolism, the rate at which your body burns through calories. I want you to understand this metabolism thing because it's kind of a mystery sometimes. 6 factors that really relate to metabolism. They're the main ones. So age, all right, that just keeps going up. I can't change that one. But true. All right, so we're stuck with that one. Age is a factor. All right, gender. All right, male, female. Males tend to have a higher metabolism, than females, and so gender factors in a little bit more. Different things. They say like maybe like like a little bit more heat generating things like that. So whatever it is, but there is a factor there. You can argue whether or not you can change that or not, right? So whatever. You're kind of fixed on that one. All right, height. All right, you're kind of there, but maybe it shrinks. So if it's the only way it can go is worse. But you're kind of stuck with that, right? You're stuck with it. So far, out of 6 factors, you're like, this is dumb. I don't like this metabolism thing because it just says I'm stuck with whatever I got, and you kind of are. You kind of are. What these calculators come to. You can factor it in. We got a calculator you can check out. And you can see what your metabolism is, and it is kind of stuck there, except weight's a factor, but it's not the factor you think. The heavier you are, the higher metabolism. The lighter you are, the lower your metabolism. So as you lose weight, it takes less calories to keep you moving through the day. So if you still take 10,000 steps, but you weigh 30 pounds less calories will be burned because if you take 10,000 steps and you wore a 30-pound weight vest, you'd be more tired. All right, so weight's a factor there. So the heavier you are, the higher your metabolism. People think it's the opposite way around a lot, but it's not. It's not. The lighter you are, the lower your metabolism. All right. And so number 5, activity level, the biggest factor, activity level. Second on that, it's like this controllable factor, percent body fat, building muscle, right? The passive income stream of the body, building muscle, have more muscle on your body, lower percent body fat. Still got some, maybe your weight doesn't change that much, but percent body fat does some good stuff there. You drop that percent body fat, you've built muscle, even at the same weight, huge differences, all right? So we're going to go a little bit more details here. Yo-yo diet, and why does this stink so bad, right? Why does it stink so bad, all right? There's a study from the International Journal of Obesity-Related Metabolic Disorders. They had a very low-calorie diet, 27 people. They lost an average of 19 pounds in 8 weeks, all right? 32% of it was lean muscle. You go, no, that's for every 13 pounds of weight of fat loss. They lost 6 pounds of muscle. You're like, no, they just wrecked it. They just wrecked their bodies. And so here you go. You take this, there's a 180-pound woman. She loses that 19 pounds. I'm so successful, yay! But then she gains it back. And when you gain it back, you don't typically gain back muscle unless you're really hitting resistance training hard and really getting that protein level. So she gains it back, but ends up being more fat. If you go through that cycle a couple times, you end up with the same weight, 180 pounds, but you've got 12 pounds more fat, 12 pounds less muscle, and your metabolism has dropped 106 calories per day because of the muscle loss. All right, all else staying the same, which you can't really stop everything else from being the same. But if you could, that'd be about 10 pounds gained per year. So that metabolism drop would equal a 10-pound gain per year because of the loss of muscle. So building that muscle back is going to be so important. And that's why you get so mad, all right? The scale and you may not get along because of that. Losing fat, gaining muscle. Let's talk about this, all right? So they had people on a super low calorie. They want to check out, could resistance training stop a little bit of this muscle loss? 800 calorie liquid diet for 90 days. Oh my goodness, that is rough. All right. So average weight loss was 35 pounds. You can't help it, on 800 calories, you're going to lose weight. All right. And then all subjects increased cross-sectional area of their muscle fibers significantly. They did resistance training. So they did this low calorie, but they did resistance training. They were able to keep some of their muscle. All right. So even if you're losing weight, you can keep some muscle around. It's tough to build sometimes. You might be able to. You got to work real hard, but you definitely can keep it, and you need to keep it while you're losing weight, all right? Because it's such a huge factor, all right? So it appears that weight training can produce hypertrophy of skeletal muscle and increase metabolism, even during severe energy restriction and large-scale weight loss. So huge deal. More simply put, is lifting weights equals increasing muscle no matter what. Another study, all right? 54 women in 4 groups. Group 1, diet with weight loss. Group 2, exercise with weight loss. Group 3, exercise without weight loss. Group 4, weight stable control group. All right, the women who exercised and did not lose weight, so that's exercise without weight loss. Group 3 lost the same amount of fat as the group who lost weight. Group 1, they lost the same amount of fat. They didn't lose weight. So diet with weight loss lost the same amount of fat as exercise without weight loss. All right, they did some resistance training for sure on that. All right, so you go, okay, fat matters, right? Not just weight, fat matters. And if you exercise, they lost fat still. All right, obviously, group 2, exercise with weight loss, probably has the best opportunity there, right? Conclusion, exercise without weight loss is associated with a substantial reduction in total and abdominal obesity, but exercise with weight loss, even more. The scale doesn't have to go down to get smaller is a good thing, but maybe you can do both. Nope. Go back here. Then post gastric bypass diet. I want you to get an idea of what happens after a gastric bypass. What kind of diet do you go on, and what can we learn from it? All right. So they clear liquids, pureed foods, soft foods, solid foods. Now they had an example of things on here. So pureed foods, there's not much to learn from that. All right. They're just surviving a surgery. Very dramatic. All right. But they had a recommendation of your protein shake, have egg whites. So I put it into our nutrition program. I got 927 calories. That's going to drop weight off of anybody. All right. And then you've got 96 grams of protein. They made sure protein's in there. Super important. Got to keep protein alive in the body no matter what. So especially if they're going to be dropping weight that fast, you've got to. So gastric bypass, huge. Now, next phase, different recommendations, different things adjusted there. Total calories about 866, still roughly the same amount of calories, and still 99 grams of protein. So it's still hitting that protein level. Long-term plan, we got a little bit more options, a little more freedom in there. The grades turned out a little bit better on this one. 1,200 calories, more survivable. Maybe this is the eating plan we all should be on more regularly. 102 grams of protein. The protein is such a huge factor in this, but people most of the time miss it. People most of the time completely miss it, and that's why most people struggle. I'm going to skip through this because there's so many good things in here, but I want to keep this a little bit shorter. All right. So I guess I'll say this one. A diet consisting of protein, vegetables, and a limited amount of grains and very little, if any, refined sugars should be followed the rest of your life. That was the recommendation. Is the food guide pyramid minus the bottom of it so much. All right, less on the bottom. Most of us got that beat into our heads that if we gotta get my grains in. You don't need them as much as you think. The vegetables, big time. Some fruits, a little bit, and then you got to get some of that protein in. All right. Cardiovascular exercise. So that's about muscle. We talk about muscle, how important that is. I mean, hopefully you're sold on muscle, because it just what it allows you to do and how it allows you to look, And so longevity cardiovascular exercise, this is about having the stamina to do life. All right. So study results is that low cardiorespiratory fitness is a sounder predictor of death than risk factors such as hypertension, smoking, and diabetes. What? More than hypertension, smoking, and diabetes, cardiovascular fitness? Yes, because once that drops, you lose the ability to survive most sicknesses, and you cannot sustain life. You just cannot. So that's kind of the end of it for most of us. We want to delay that as long as possible. But cardiovascular disease is the number one cause of death. 31% of all deaths globally, according to a study in 2016. They reviewed a whole bunch of studies, and they found the subjects 64 years of age and older. And they're looking at what happens to oxygen intake. So what happens to us? Men tend to drop 5 points on this measurement, there's a VO2 max measurement, all right, per decade after age 20. Women tend to drop 5 every decade after age 35, so they get a later start, but they start a little bit, maybe a slightly lower number. So we're dropping every decade 5 points every decade there. All right, so you're like, oh, this stinks. This is what happens, not what has to happen, okay? This is just what happens in a regular course of life. Decline is largely due to inactivity and increase in body fat. So if you're active and you don't gain the body fat, you don't have to participate in that drop, all right? Once VO2 max drops below 18 for men, 15 for women, a person loses functional independence. That means it's too hard to get up and get food for yourself or get up and go to the bathroom that you need assistance. All right, so if it drops too far, that's going to end up being around age 70 for a lot of us. Age 70 should be, peak awesome time. Those two people were way over age 70, right? We had an 80-year-old and about 90-year-old in those two pictures, and so, way past that. All right, so 70 you shouldn't be dropping there. They're not dropping. All right, what can we do about it? How do we stop it? All right, aerobic activity. You do need to do some cardio there. All right, we have it worked into our program. We do definitely resistance training. We definitely get that. We have some cardio worked in because it's needed. What's good for the heart is good for the brain too. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. And they found some very strong connections on doing great cardio. So 50% to 70% of heart rate max, good huffing and puffing, 3 to 5 times a week for 30 minutes a day can slow the decline. After 8 to 10 weeks, VO2 max, that thing improved, that little weird score thing, improved by 12.9%. All right, that's 2 months, 2.5 months, improved that much. All right, so as soon as you get started, it happens. All right, I found another study that after 4 weeks, it got an 8% improvement. So you just get started, just a couple weeks, you can change this. All right, 12 to 18 weeks improved a little bit more. So it slows down the improvement. It can still improve, but it slows down the improvement. The initial improvement is the first improvement. All right. But at higher intensities, 75 to 85% of heart rate max, there's greater gains, a 25% increase, all right, which equals about 6 points on that scale, which is the equivalent of gaining back 12 years of vigor. So you go back, you rewind 12 years back, all right? So we can do it muscle-wise by doing resistance training. We can do it, for our heart, for our lungs, for our cardiovascular system by doing some of that cardiovascular exercise. All right, so called cardio protection. So you do work on great intensity, you get greater protection. So we work on good, strong intensity. We're trying to be safe with our joints. Most of our clients are over 55. The average client is at least 55, in our program. And so, but we want to still get that cardio intensity so we can get that huge change, that huge benefit in a short period of time. So there's a few studies right there. I just rambled through those really fast. Here's another thought, some other thoughts for you. As we think about aging well, are you disabled? More people have been disabled by inactivity than activity. All right? Inactivity steals your strength, your mind, your energy, and your positivity. Our mind deteriorates, our strength deteriorates, and our emotionally, we're zapped. We're zapped there, all right? And so I learned this maybe the hard way. Age is a number and old is a feeling. All right, so there's a picture of a back, and for me, it's got a little bulge in there. Is that when I was 22 years old, I ruptured a disc in my lower back. So I just blew it out the back there, all right? So I was 22 years old, and I couldn't pick up a pen off the floor for a good solid 6 months, all right? They told me to rest it. Just rest it, don't do anything, and, try to get it to recover a little bit. I did. I wanted to get better, so I rested it. At the end of 6 months, I still felt terrible. So it was time to start working. I started exercising very, very carefully. I had to do it very, very carefully to start off with. But I was able to slowly get myself feeling better. All right, slowly get myself, protect that area while getting things going. And honestly, that's why I got into this area. And so I learned that you can feel old at any age. All right, so I was 22 years old. I felt significantly older. When you're 22 years old, you can't pick up a pen off the floor. It feels weird. You picture that like, being some age older, than where you are. And I think that's easy to see, when you're 22 years old. And I'm thankful I saw that, because now when I'm 80 years old, I have that memory. And I hope for whatever age you're at, is that, you can learn from me, on this, is that if you feel terrible now, it might not be age related. It wasn't age related for me. I was 22 years old. It was because of some of the things I had done. I had not exercised properly. I had not stretched properly, and so I had put myself in a place where I was super tight. my body was not doing well, and I felt way older. All right. And so I felt significantly older. So that it goes to this one. The more flexible you are, the younger you feel. All right. The spider creeps you out, right? Ooh, spider. But the connective tissue in our bodies, if we hold bad postures, if we don't move our bodies that much, the connective tissue starts to weave in tighter and tighter until it's like we've been wrapped up by a spider. We're stuck in some of these positions. All right. And so we have to break out. We have to break out of some of that. And so I hope, that when you feel this, you're tight, you can't move very well, you feel older. I want you to just learn from me. Learn from me in that I was 22 years old, I felt that way. All right. If you're 60 years old, don't blame it on age. Don't blame it on age, especially if you haven't done everything that you could do to feel better. So don't say, okay, it's because I'm 60 years old, that's why it's happening. No, there's probably some things you could do about it. There's probably some stretching, some strengthening, doing great resistance training through great range of motion with great posture, amazingly restorative to the body. All right, doing the cardio, getting the stamina, getting blood flow, getting all that stuff happening, awesome. Doing that stretching work, huge for how you feel. All right. So what happens to a lot of us, we get wound up in this slouching posture, right? We're slouching here. And it's no good, So it takes a while to get back out of that. Now, if you stay there long enough, you might not be able to get fully out. I do need to say that. If you've been in this hunch long enough, your bones may have actually shaped a little bit. Now, if you're just a little bit there, you might still be able to press out of that a little bit. Fight against it, strain against it. Don't go easily that way. Nobody ever gets hunched over like this and goes, yes, that was exactly what I was going for. I was going for the slouched over look. No, it just happens to us. It takes a decent amount of work to fight against it. But you can. And that the 80-year-old we showed earlier, the 90-year-old we showed there, are great examples of that. Poof, they got the muscles, they got this great posture. We can strengthen, we can stretch, and we can become better there. All right. A lot of it's from the bad sitting there. All right. So we sit, we slouch, and we stay there a while. We get caught in that position. All right. So those are some of the things. So we talked about weight loss, how important that is, getting pressure off the body, getting inflammation down, restoring the body that way, strengthening, how we can age backwards by doing strength training, flexibility. How I learned that stretching out, getting those spider webs off my body, I could all of a sudden move, and now my back didn't bother me so much. I was able to get an incredible amount of recovery. You wouldn't know that I had that issue in my body. Now I know if I don't do my stretching, it starts to come back. I can feel that back pain rise up very quickly. So that's my motivator for me is I have to keep at it. I have to keep at it. And then the stamina. Talk about the stamina of keeping going. Step 2 in the process, that's reversing aging. Step 2, to stay young, you keep the fitness routine. You have a routine. You keep doing. You become that person who does that work. All right? Healthy diet. You maintain those healthy behaviors that got the weight loss. You have a healthy diet. Doesn't mean you don't eat yummy things sometimes. I'm sure both those people, that we referenced in there, ate some yummy things from time to time. All right, I eat some yummy things from time to time. All right, but you're trying to find that right balance and eating a lot of good stuff. All right, having good community, having positivity, novelty, and adventure are things that you need to nail in staying young. All right, so you take on new challenges, you try different stuff, and that's what young people do, and that's how you stay young as you age. All right, so that's how to get and stay healthy as we age. This is the point where I say, I'd like to partner with you on this. All right, this is a lot of great helpful stuff, and hopefully it was motivating for you. You've got some ideas on some stuff that you can actually take action on. And if that's all, that's great. Go ahead and have fun, do that. But I do want you to know, like, this is what I do. We love doing this, at our business, and so we'd love to help you make some of these things happen, get this program started, see the benefits, reverse age, and then help you develop a way to stick to it. All right. So we have things at all different price points. We got stuff that's only online. We got stuff at low cost where we just get you jump started, give you some tips. We're there as a helpful resource. We can send you on an email list. We can send out messages to you that way. We do a lot of good stuff there. But we also have, more in-depth programs and stuff like that where we really spend time with you and we get to walk you through this and work with you through this. And I'd like to be a part of that with you. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, you're like, this stuff, I know I need it. I know I need this stuff. It's just so hard getting it started. All right. contact us. Go to talltrainer.com, go right to our website there, and fill out the little contact us form. It's going to get to me. I will see it. It goes to me. I'm a human. I will see it, and I'll call you back. All right. So put your phone number on there. I will personally call you, and we could talk about some of these things. See what fits your schedule, what fits your budget, and those kind of things, and get you some of this help. All right. So hopefully this was just helpful. Rev you up, fire you up a little bit. It excites me when I talk about these things. Do that strength training, do that cardio, get that weight loss, get some of these things happening for your body so you could feel, these awesome feelings. All right. So, and then of course, please fill out the form. Fill out the form, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Have fun. Be safe. God bless.